this edition of Sightings. What's inside Hangar 18? UFO researchers believe there are alien bodies.
We have the bodies from the crash.
Then, a family turns to a psychic to find their daughter's killer.
We think Dorothy is going to give the police the leads to solve this case.
Later, is it chance or can you control luck?
I just got a funny feeling, and I won $7 million. It's incredible.
Also, when we die, where does our soul go? These people share a wondrous vision.
He led me into a ballroom filled with hundreds and hundreds of people, all of whom had gathered for a party.
Plus, a Michigan woman is abducted by aliens and now heals the sick.
She has abilities that are not like anything else I've seen before.
And was there once life on Mars?
Maybe we're all evolved Martians.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. There have been persistent rumors that alien wreckage and remains from Roswell, New Mexico were stored in Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. In the 1960s, responding to the rumors, then Senator Barry Goldwater asked former Air Force Chief of Staff Curtis LeMay, "What's inside Hangar 18?" According to Goldwater, LeMay said, "Don't ever ask me that question again." But Sightings is asking, what is inside Hangar 18?
There have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
But where are these incredible things today? There is a long and voluminous paper trail of evidence that points in one direction, that points to a top-secret location known as Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Many UFO researchers believe that at one time, wreckage from Roswell and other UFO crash sites, as well as the bodies of alien beings, were brought here for underground storage. Of course, the Air Force denies these charges, but ufologists counter that their denials are a prime example of the fox watching the henhouse door. But why Hangar 18? When there were desert bases much closer to the original crash sites? Why truck the wreckage to a base thousands of miles away? There were several advantages to using Wright-Patterson, according to Professor Michael Swords.
Wright-Patterson had several elements associated with it. It had a standard Air Force base at Patterson Field, and it had a high-technology testing facility at Wright Field. In between the two fields, it also had something unique to our government, and that was the Technical Intelligence Organization, so-called T2, or what became the Foreign Technology Division.
During the Second World War, T2, the Foreign Technology Division, would receive crashed German rockets and aircraft. Their job was to reverse engineer the craft. T2's quarters were allegedly far underground in a maze of secret laboratories at Wright-Patterson.
This is the sort of division that would have been appropriate to use for the investigation of UFO research and ultimately became the home for Project Sign and Blue Book.
Rumors of UFO secrets being kept here have become part of Dayton, Ohio folklore. In a series of news reports, local anchor Carl Day set out to determine if any of the rumors were true.
Well, recently we investigated the rumors about Hangar 18 and in particular the Roswell connection to Wright-Pat.
In July 1947, eyewitnesses at the Roswell crash site saw military personnel load wreckage onto trucks and cart it away. Destination unknown.
We found that the wreckage from Roswell, probably, at least part of it, did arrive at Wright-Pat around that time. What happened to it? We couldn't find any record of that. We found that was sort of interesting.
If, as the Air Force maintains, the wreckage was a weather balloon, why would it be transported via secret convoy from Roswell to Dayton? And once there, why would all record of a weather balloon retrieval disappear? The answer may lie here with Alfred Lenting, an engineer who, upon his retirement from T2, received a U.S. patent for this strange flying saucer design.
Al Ludding could have been influenced in his design by an alien type of technology, because when you look at his design, it is a low aspect, sort of ellipsoid shaped craft with two tiny tabs on the back that was taken extremely seriously by the Air Force.
It was during Ludding's tenure at Wright-Patterson that the Air Force conducted Project Blue Book, its only publicly acknowledged UFO study. Ufologists believe Blue Book was simply a cover designed to divert attention away from the real work going on deep underground. According to the nephew of then Deputy Head of Procurement Jack Donahue, autopsies were being performed on humanoid, but not human, creatures.
My Uncle Jack had a top secret security clearance when he worked at Wright-Patterson the complete time. The strangest story that he ever accounted to me was the day that he asked me if I had heard of a UFO crash out in Phoenix, Arizona. He said, "We have the bodies from the crash." He said, "We went down to the cold storage area."
Donahue allegedly told his nephew that he was led down a series of twisting hallways to a secret room.
There was a stainless steel table in this room that was arranged a little bit like a laboratory. The man, he said, "Look at this." Jack looked at the body. Jack told me that at the time they were doing full autopsies on the bodies. The head was shaped basically like a human head, only it was small. He said, "We better not spend very much time here," and they left the room. I tried to bring it up at a later date. He said, "Forget him. Just forget about the whole incident." And I said, "What do you mean, forget it?" He said, "Just forget it. It never happened."
Well, there are still people that absolutely believe that alien bodies and UFO wreckage are still here on this base, and that the bodies are kept in cryogenic suspension somewhere underneath Wright Field. Legendary UFO researcher Leonard Stringfield investigated Hangar 18 for close to 50 years. In a rare interview just prior to his death in 1994, Stringfield told Sightings that he had been able to track the progress of wreckage and alien bodies retrieved in several different parts of the Southwest.
In the beginnings, some of them were shipped to areas in Los Alamos in the western sensitive areas from Albuquerque on down to Los Alamos and the whole region of New Mexico. And oftentimes for further analyses or study why they were sent to Wright-Patterson. I was told by one intelligence source here some years ago that they had 30 alien bodies underground at Wright-Patterson Field alone up to 1966.
And reports persisted well into the next decade that alien bodies were still being stored at Wright-Patterson. One of the most interesting discoveries, I think, has to be the alleged alien jawbone that we uncovered. Officials within the Air Force intelligence community have told me that they had determined back in the 70s, possibly before that, that this was an alien jawbone. I can't have anybody go on record, however, now as saying that. I think the Air Force is hiding a lot of things. They are developing here on this base a lot of super secret weapon systems for the future. Those should be kept secret. They did issue a statement, though, that there are no aliens or UFO pieces on this base now.
At the end of the 1950s, 3 aeronautic engineers left what was then Wright Field and returned to civilian life. Within 1 year, all 3 applied for patents with the U.S. Patent Office. All 3 wanted to patent flying saucer designs. We'll have more on those patents on an upcoming edition of Sightings.
Next, after a brutal crime remains unsolved, police turn to a psychic for help.
When the police ask me a question, right then and there I'm seeing a picture.
Dorothy Allison uses her psychic ability for one purpose and one purpose only. She solves crimes. Just recently, she was able to locate the body of a murder victim in Vancouver, Canada, when law enforcement thought that they'd reached an impasse. Now, a family in Monticello, Iowa, is hoping Dorothy can help. Perhaps a psychic hunch will finally put their family tragedy to rest.
The killer was down in this basement. I feel that the killer was in the basement first, and then he come upstairs. So this is the bedroom, I believe, where she was killed. And this is the spot, I see.
22-year-old Kathy Jo Cox Bolkin was murdered the day after Christmas 1993. Kathy's death haunts everyone in tiny Monticello, Iowa. A killer is still at large. The police are running out of leads, so they met with psychic detective Dorothy Allison at the request of Sightings.
My first phone call to Dorothy kind of put the hair up on the back of my neck. She had mentioned a name of a person we had talked to, and she had no idea, you know, who we were dealing with or anything else. And right away, it kind of makes things a little eerie. And
Dorothy's psychic impressions of the crime begin to come out as soon as she arrives in Monticello. She and Chief Walters move quickly to follow up on the explosion of images racing through Dorothy's mind.
So this is where I feel the person that killed Kathy hangs out in. When the police ask me a question, right then and there I'm seeing a picture. The killer somehow comes along this path.
Monticello, population 3,500, is a small farming and factory town unused to the big city horrors of rampant crime. The last time someone was murdered here was in 1974. Kathy's parents, who own a popular convenience store in town, recall how they discovered that their daughter was dead.
We had a call from one of our customers at about 8:30 that morning, the 26th of December, and said, "Did you know your store isn't open?"
After failing to get his daughter on the telephone, he went to her house.
Just pushed on the door wasn't latched, and walked in and yelled her name 2 or 3 times, no answer, and walked back to her bedroom and
when I did go over there, they were coming back and they met me, and he just jumped out of the car and said, "We've lost her."
Kathy left behind one son, Michael, now 4 years old. Michael's father can't understand why anyone would kill Kathy.
She was such a good-hearted person. She was, you know, down to earth, and I don't see where, you know, she didn't have a bad bone in her whole body. She was just good, you know. She always was smiling, and, you know, nothing really bothered her or got to her. A down-to-earth person.
Among the images confronting Dorothy is a hunting lodge with horses nearby. Chief Walters takes her to a location just outside of Monticello that matches her psychic vision to a T.
He's absolutely from here. And somebody she knew. This is not a stranger who walked in on her. But I do think her murder was planned. I don't think it just happened. I think this person was angry with her, very upset.
Our hopes are really up because we think Dorothy is going to give the police the leads to solve this case.
I get the feeling she met this person around June or July from, you know, in the very beginning. And I think this person was angry with her, very upset. And I believe she insulted him in many ways, and he took whatever she said as a big insult.
Dorothy's visions continue to match people and places familiar to the local police. They ask Dorothy to work with a sketch artist to build a composite of the killer.
His hair is medium brown, parts it to the right. His eyes are spread far apart. Trying to make him younger looking, too. You know, late 20s, early 30s.
And I remember a girl that used to work behind a convenience store counter at her father's store that her life's been snuffed out. We need to bring justice to her crime, and we're going to have our killer behind bars.
We have to know who did this. We have to know he's put away, that he's paying his penalty. He took our joy away. He took our hope away.
You have to survive every day. And he did destroy Kathy, but we can't let him destroy us.
He didn't destroy Kathy's spirit because he lives on through all of us, and through her son, Michael.
Here is another look at the man Dorothy Allison believes murdered Kathy Jo Bolkin. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Monticello, Iowa Police Department.
Next, when we die, where does our spirit go?
We went back to a teaching pod. What we were doing was bringing each other up on our previous lives.
The Circle of Life is more than just a hit song from a popular Disney movie. It is the tenet of a number of religions that embrace the concept of reincarnation. And for believers, the Circle of Life is a way of explaining what happens after we die. We simply go back to the place we were before we were born. Some describe it as a waiting room for the soul. Is death an overture, or the final curtain? Buddhists believe that after death, we all walk a passageway from one lifetime to the next. That passageway is called Bardo, a place where your karma, the sum total of your life's good and bad deeds, determines your next incarnation. In Catholicism, there is also a place between heaven and hell where souls are evaluated.
Catholicism certainly has the very definite teachings about purgatory. And purgatory, people usually think of it in negative terms. It's a very positive thing. I mean, you're on the outskirts of heaven. You're sort of in the suburbs of the divine city.
Father Stephen Frost is a Catholic priest and a renowned religious scholar.
I think the idea of a state that exists after death that is not the ultimate experience quite yet, probably, well, I can't say it's as old as human consciousness, but certainly is right there in the beginning.
But how can we know that such a place exists? Catholics know because they have faith, but others say they know because they've been there.
When I floated away from my body, I looked down. I don't mean to insinuate that I still had a body and had eyes, but I could see everything around me. I could see that there was a woman who was crying, and as I got higher, I see in the distance there is something that I am going towards. I come up to it, and as I approach it, the shapes become more and more distinct.
Colleen Monahan believes that she had reached the very threshold of an afterlife. The vision occurred while she was exploring her past lives under hypnosis.
I could see that it was a person who was very tall and dressed in a robe, rather like a monk. And as I got even closer, probably as far as you and I are away right now, about 2 feet, I realized that this person was was waiting for me.
Richard Wood is a real estate developer in Northern California. He does not know Colleen, but their recollections of a waiting room for the soul are almost identical.
As I was pulling back from the body that I had just left, I experienced coming into this bright whiteness. And as it felt like as I turned around, there was my spirit guide to meet me at that point.
Colleen and Richard are both clients of Dr. Michael Newton, a noted hypnotherapist and past life researcher.
A spirit guide is an individual entity who is very, very old and who is the first intelligent being to meet people after death.
Dr. Newton lives in Grass Valley, California. His book, Journey of Souls, contains case studies that he's compiled over the past 10 years.
I have learned that when we speak of a spirit guide, we are talking about a higher entity, which is a teacher.
And so he led me into a ballroom. A huge ballroom filled with hundreds and hundreds of people, all of whom had gathered for a party. And every single one of them in a good mood, jolly, happy to see me. Hi, how are you? Where have you been? It's good to see you back.
After my spirit guide Arnon met me, we went back to a teaching pod, which is a gathering or a group of other spirits that I'm a member of.
According to Dr. Newton, the teaching pod that Wood describes is a common thread among those who claim to have experienced this prelude to the afterlife.
Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a room without anything in it, a room without walls. I know you don't want to do this, but it's true, and this is what this place looked like.
So what goes on in these classrooms is essentially lesson learning. They review the lives just lived, and how they compare to lives that they have lived before, and lives which are to be lived in the future in terms of what still needs to be learned.
This is a place that souls go to be restored, and that is exactly what we need after living.
The ultimate goal of a soul is to really stop reincarnating, because they have in fact learned all the lessons that they were intended to learn. They don't need physical bodies anymore to achieve this information.
Dr. Newton has come to believe that his clients must serve as messengers for the afterlife, and their message is one of hope and renewal.
The most startling or incredible thing that I learned from my research has to be the fact that there is a God.
This experience has made me fall in love with my own life, because I know who I am. And I know that you are just as important and complex and wonderful as I am.
It's allowing me to see for myself in my own life that there's no death, fear for me as there was previously.
I think the important thing is that we create these symbolic sort of dramas ourselves, whether they're dream experience or vision experience or different types of poetic experience that takes us into touch with things that are eternal.
When I walk through an old cemetery like this, I think of these departed souls, and it's comforting now, in light of all of the years of research I've spent, to know what really happened to them and that they are happy, and many of them have gone on to new lives.
Skeptics debunk reincarnation by pointing out that there are more living people on the earth right now than have ever died. So there just aren't enough souls to go around. But believers counter that reincarnation is only one of many methods by which we achieve that supernatural energy known as the soul.
Coming up, an entire family is abducted by extraterrestrials.
My husband woke up on a table being examined by 3 grays.
Then, can you control luck?
I've seen myself winning the lottery twice.
Later, is there life on Mars?
It is the sheer terror that people recall most vividly when describing what they believe has been an alien abduction experience. But now, some abductees are claiming that, along with the momentary terror, they are experiencing a profound and positive long-term effect.
I woke up in the middle of the night, and I felt that there was someone alongside of the bed. And I reached my right hand out, and I touched the shoulder of someone who were probably the size of a 5-year-old. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. It was total terror.
She has asked to use the pseudonym Judy. She does not want viewers to know who she is, only what she is, an abductee. Her terror began in 1989 and came to light after a local paper invited readers to call in with their UFO experiences.
She was very frightened. That came through loud and clear.
Reporter Holly Cogan knew Judy's call was different.
When I spoke with Judy, she came across as a very honest person. I had no reason to think that she was doing anything but saying what she believed. So I went out to her home with the expectation that it was going to be interesting and legitimate.
Cogan's resulting article described a woman with a history of multiple abductions and vivid recollections of encounters with small gray creatures.
It was almost as though they were saying, ready or not, here we come. But I didn't know at the time what was going on because I didn't know about alien abductions.
The impact of abductions on people's lives is a very powerful one.
At Eastern Michigan University, sociology professor Dr. Ron Westrom has studied the impact of the abduction phenomenon on individuals and on society as a whole.
The person adapts and they just sort of somehow manage to work it into their life until every so often something happens to them that makes them suddenly confront, you know, this really is happening. This is not just a dream. You can't just dismiss it.
For months, Judy's family did not believe the bizarre stories she was telling them about her abductions. But then, without warning, The terror that had isolated her from the family began to spread. Now her husband and sister claimed that they were being abducted too. What was once a single case of alien abduction had now become what researchers term a multiple cross-generational family abduction.
My husband and I had problems. We came close to a divorce over this until he woke up on a table being examined by 3 Greys. This is something that we didn't ask for, we didn't want, and it's totally changed our lives.
One night I went to bed and I had brushed my hair before I went to bed. The next morning I woke up and was doing my hair, and my hair had been cut to like an inch in certain spots on my head. And I went in and I checked my pillow. There was no hair on the pillow. And nobody in the household had been in my bedroom that night.
Jane, like her sister Judy, has grown to accept this as evidence of her abduction experience.
I just didn't bother really trying to figure out. I just took it that I had visitors. You know, I've grown up with it. It's like if you grow up with a limp, you get used to it.
The phenomena seems to be centered around me, and a little curiosity with the other family members, but the bulk of the phenomena is directed at me.
Judy believes that strange grass rings in the backyard are further evidence of UFO contact.
We noticed that in the wintertime they would be bright, lush green. The patterns have expanded where there are rings joining rings and different designs.
Dr. W.C. Levengood, a prominent research biophysicist known for his study of crop circles, was brought in to examine the unusual formations.
In the lush green areas, the respiration of the grass is entirely different or out of phase with the normal grass. There is a definite indication that there's electromagnetic energy involved in the formation of the circles and its effect on the plants.
Where does this anomalous energy come from? Could it come from an alien craft?
We have a lot of intriguing data, but I think we've just scratched the surface. We do not understand yet how these energies are put together.
Although much of what Judy has experienced over the past 5 years is already familiar to abduction experts, she reports one astonishing incident that falls outside the typical abductee's experience.
I woke up and there was a Grey by my side, left side, and he was putting in what appeared to be laser type objects in my brain. He put one in each temple, one here, and one in the back. And I was told that I would have an energy and that I would be able to help people who are ill.
Some abductees feel that after the return from an abduction event that they have increased powers, psychic powers or healing powers. This is extremely unusual. Judy has felt that she has the ability to have a therapeutic touch, so to speak, and this might certainly be true. It's something that we can't dismiss out of hand, and it might be related to the abduction phenomenon if true. This has got to be very scientifically and objectively investigated.
Judy claims that she has helped hundreds of patients through her healing touch, including one woman who had a painful disease called shingles.
After about 3 minutes, I noticed I was beginning to feel very warm, and the area under her hands was intensely warm. And then my whole body began to feel tingly and just relaxed. And gradually the nausea and the sickness was just disappearing, even in 12 hours.
The disease, which can plague some people for a lifetime, disappeared. Mary believes it was Judy's touch that helped cure her.
I think Judy did help with the illness. I think she speeded up the process, and I firmly believe that she has abilities that are not like anything else I've seen before.
Judy believes that the terror she experiences during her abductions is the price she has to pay for her healing powers.
I saw the peace that came to people that were getting the treatments. I saw physical ailments that were being healed. And I decided that this is something that I should do.
Whether or not you believe that Judy has been repeatedly abducted by aliens, the fact remains that she is now providing a very important service to the sick and dying. While the source of her new outlook is debatable, the positive outcome is not.
Next, he may be the luckiest man in America, but do we all have the same undiscovered abilities?
I won $7 million. It's incredible.
The odds of winning the lottery may be more than 1 in a million, but every week people plunk down their hard-earned cash in the hope that this time they'll be the one. This time they'll be that lucky one. But is it simply luck that turns a wishful thinker into an instant millionaire? Or is there a supernatural way to turn the tables in your favor? According to the dictionary, luck is random, a spontaneous event out of conscious control. But lucky charms, talismans, and superstitions suggest that humankind has a different definition.
It means different things to different people. I believe that the conventional notion of luck is happiness, good fortune.
A research psychologist at the University of South Alabama, Dr. Vituli has studied both the psychological and mathematical components of luck.
I think another aspect of luck that can't be ignored is the more statistical view in which luck is a product of a series of random events.
I'm living happy today. Today I'm a wealthy man and I can do whatever I want. Travel, whatever.
Many people consider Bernie Bobowitz the luckiest man on earth. His latest streak of luck started in 1985 when Bernie bought 3 New York State lottery tickets.
Checking the first ticket, I took a pen and I automatically started circling winning numbers. Then I realized I had 5 winning numbers on my first ticket. So I checked the second ticket. And it was the same numbers again. Only thing, there was 1 digit different. And I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I said, this is incredible. It can't be. Going through the rest of my tickets, I have another ticket with 4. 3 winning tickets. Incredible.
Bernie hit the jackpot to the tune of $3.5 million. He was that 1 in a million lottery winner. And a few years later, he won again.
I happened to be going through my mother's old Bible, and I got these numbers out of the Bible. And I just got a funny feeling. Bernie played them, and I did. And I won $7 million. It's incredible.
Is Bernie a multimillionaire because he had a psychic hunch? Or is he somehow blessed by a higher power? Statisticians say he is neither.
I think as humans we need explanations for things that happen to us. And when we attach words like luck or fate or words like that, we're simply trying to explain things that we can't explain any other way.
As a professor of statistics at the University of California at Davis, Jessica Utz specializes in the study of chance and probability.
I think a lot of luck is paying attention, applying what we know about increasing your probability of having good things happen to you or decreasing your probability of having bad things happen to you. I also think that using your intuition can increase what we call luck, because I think we have a lot of information in our minds that we're not even aware of.
Bernie agrees that it was his intuition that made him a millionaire.
I seen myself winning the lottery twice. It happened. I see I'm winning a 3rd time. And not only a 3rd time, but even a 4th and 5th time. I can see this. And it will happen. It definitely will happen.
If we assess the probability that he could win 3 times, the odds are incredibly remote. Nevertheless, this individual may personally assume that their chances are much better than others who haven't won. This individual has been reinforced and rewarded for their ventures, and therefore they're more likely to believe that they could try again and indeed win.
Remarkably, there is scientific evidence to support the theory that intuition is a significant factor in changing your luck. In one experiment, cascading balls generate random or chance numbers. Dr. Utz has found that some people observing the cascading balls can anticipate the numbers before they appear. Parapsychologists call it precognitive ability.
You can't predict the outcome, but you can assign probabilities to different outcomes. The same may be true of the future, that there are probable futures, and that some of those futures are actually more likely than others, and it may be that certain people can pick up on which of those futures are more likely.
Buddhism has embraced this concept and given it a name, karma.
Good karma or positive karma will lead to happiness, essentially.
But according to Dr. Tanaka, the Western concept of luck bringing material wealth is not the kind of luck that comes to those with good karma.
Happiness is essentially inside. Luck is something that's outside. You can win a lottery and win $1 million, but that does not assure happiness within.
So, is the converse true? Are some people bad luck magnets? Danny New has been plagued by accidents his entire life.
I was a passenger in a mini truck driving down the freeway, and the driver was not paying attention to what he was doing and lost control of the vehicle and ended flipping the vehicle on the freeway. I almost felt the lightning before I heard the lightning because it was so close. It was like an explosion next to me. The actual sound waves is what knocked me down. I was probably doing 50, 55 miles an hour, and just at the last minute I saw the cement culvert and I crashed headlong into it.
The majority of bad luck can be explained by choices that people make that have logical explanations, like not wearing their seatbelt, going out during a lightning storm, that sort of thing. And if people see a repeating pattern of so-called bad luck, they should examine what they could have done to change the circumstances.
Recently, Danny New has begun scrutinizing his past, and not surprisingly, his luck is changing.
If you want to make steel stronger, you put it through fire. And that's how I was looking at it. I don't look at it as bad luck. I look at it as, you know, some people need a strong knock on the head to wake up. Some people just need a little tap on the shoulder. I was the kind that needed a strong rap on the head.
For some people, lucky charms are a reminder that they can change their own luck. But Bernie Bobowitz doesn't need any reminders. While Sightings was taping Bernie for this report, he cashed in a winning $300 lottery ticket.
I go to New York, Jersey, and then when I get up in California, I play up there also. So no matter where I go, I'll just play a few dollars just for the heck of it, and I win money.
Even the most hardened skeptics are reluctant to press their luck. Corporate America may not accept the reality of psychic ability, supernatural phenomena, or UFOs. But have you noticed that they don't have a 13th floor in their office buildings either?
Next, what do the latest scientific discoveries tell us about life elsewhere in the universe?
It very strongly supports the belief that life exists on other worlds.
Most scientists dismiss the idea of alien life forms as utterly impossible. But recently, a startling discovery in outer space has even some of the country's most ardent skeptics reconsidering their position. For the first time in history, we may finally have proof that there is a spark of life beyond Earth.
We use our intellect to try to understand this universe and to try to understand our place in the universe. Why do we exist?
The origin of life on Earth. It's a question that astronomers try to answer by looking at the cosmos. And recently, one tiny piece of the puzzle fell into place when NASA astronomers used the Hubble telescope to confirm the existence of black holes.
And the reason this is important is that black holes are more than just some science fiction, fantastic phenomena. It's our first glimpse of the edge of the universe as we know it.
As a science writer for the San Francisco Examiner, Key Davidson is continually revising his definition of space.
It's important to remember that a black hole is something that defies space and time as we intuitively think of them. We tend to think of space and time as things that are absolute.
The gravitational pull is so strong that nothing can escape from it, not even a beam of light. That is why we call it black hole.
According to Hubble project specialist Duccio Macchetto, a black hole's extraordinary gravitational pull has the ability to capture the essence of the cosmos.
We begin to get a better view, a better understanding of how the universe as a whole works, of how galaxies are formed, how stars are formed, how they evolve, and how we came to be.
Think of a black hole as a cosmic factory where raw materials are sucked in and then transformed into stars, planets, and galaxies. If this is true, then perhaps life in outer space can be created in the same way. And recently, one of the raw materials of life has been discovered floating in space, an amino acid called glycine.
It would be sort of like finding a brick floating around in space. From that, you could infer the existence of brick houses in outer space. Now, we don't know for sure that this glycine means that larger amino acid structures are forming in space, but it's a clue that the formation of the building blocks of life is a routine thing in the universe.
If the building blocks of life are to be found routinely in space, can we presume that Earth is the only living planet? According to many scientists, no.
Mars is the best prospect in the solar system at the moment for another life form.
Planetary scientist Jay Malash theorizes that catastrophic collisions between celestial bodies millions of years ago could have sent enormous chunks of our planet hurtling into space.
For example, the impact that killed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago left a crater almost 200 kilometers in diameter. That very well may have blown rocks off the surface of the Earth entirely, and those rocks could potentially carry microorganisms that would then be transported through space and fall on Mars.
And if these planetary fragments carried life from Earth to Mars eons ago, could the reverse also be true?
We have in our laboratories and museums chunks of Mars that have come to the Earth. Maybe terrestrial life has its roots on Mars. Maybe we're all evolved Martians.
But for life to exist, there must be water. Geologist Jeff Cargill has found evidence that water once flowed on Mars.
I would say that Mars is extremely water-rich. Now, most of its water is in the form of ice. It's a cryogenic planet today. There are certainly abundant indications that liquid water flowed on the surface.
And some astrogeologists believe that microbes in a state of cryogenic suspension exist under Martian ice today.
Life is very imaginative, and it finds ways of adapting to an extraordinary range of environments. We find living creatures in hot springs in Yellowstone. We find them living beneath the ice of Antarctica. And I have no doubt that, given enough time, life forms could exist on Mars just as they exist on the Earth.
Less than 100 years ago, a nanosecond in cosmic time, we rode in horse-drawn buggies and depended on the Pony Express. Today, we're sending a robot to mine the surface of Mars. It may be sooner than we think before we have the ability to make contact with alien life forms we can only dream about today.
Sightings has expanded its America Online area. Keyword Sightings when you log on for access to Sightings stories, images, and events. To subscribe to America Online, call 1-800-591-3344. And you can still reach Sightings 24 hours a day at 1-900-933-7444.
Until next time, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Next on Sci-Fi, Dark Shadows. Experience Sci-Fi's Farscape from the beginning.
Pilot, break orbit.
Destination:
the uncharted territories.
Farscape, every Monday through Thursday at 8 on Sci-Fi.